Yeah.
This sounds like a trivial question, but I think it's a question about symbols. In some parts of the Christian tradition and some other religions, women cover their hair. And I'm curious about how that plays out in Hinduism and Judaism. And I would tell you a little story about that. One of my best friends grew up in an Orthodox household. Yeah, no worries. She has extensions. Her mother came to see me in Alaska. I said, wear a hat. She said, no, I've got my wig. So Phyllis said, we always wear wigs. And so what is the covering hair thing to you guys?
Okay, that's a great thing. I think in many of our traditions, the covering of that head. So maybe share that with us.
Well, two different responses on that, totally divergent. My mother always wore a hat to synagogue, and for the same reason that men wore head coverings, a kippah, yarmulke. And that is to remind us that there is always something greater above us, that sits above us. So when you have something sitting on your head, it reminds you of that. I know that in Orthodox Judaism, once women are married, that is when they either shave their heads some and wear wigs, or they will keep their own hair and they will cover most of it with a scarf. Part of that, I think, especially the scarf, I think it's that's a signal. I'm married. I'm off limits. Don't ask for my father's hand. But that's something that it's something. The shaving of the head and having to wear a wig is something that's never properly resonated with me. Yeah.
See, now I'm just a common everyday Hindu, so I may be wrong here, and that's why I'm going to ask for some of my friends in the audience who may be well versed in this aspect. I have a feeling that wearing something over your head is not codified in our religion. Okay, I think I'm on the right track. Yes, it's not. So it's not mandated that women need to cover their head. That culture, that tradition, or that practice was introduced by the various Islamic invaders that kept invading. That northwestern part of India was the most heavily hit because that's where they kind of entered India. In Islamic tradition, of course, there's the hijab, and you have to cover yourself, or women have to be more modest. So that tradition of what we call the parda system. Parda means you have to wear something either over your head or all over your face. That is more prevalent in those regions because that is where the most influence of those invaders were. If you were to travel more south of India, Hindu women don't cover their head. Am I right? It's not required.
I also want to make sure that we understand that in the Hindu tradition, the caste system that was in India is not in the teachings of the Vedas. That was culturally that was important, okay? And so that's an important piece to understand. The other thing I think for Americans and Christians to understand about Hinduism, that there was a teaching that all their different worship of the water, the tree, the monkey, that these were idols. And these were not. These are expressions of the divine, of the ultimate Brahman, so that for Catholics maybe who pray to certain saints or they have different things, those are ways of expression of that. But it was not that these are all different gods in a negative way. And I think that was something that was taught to Christians to demonize Hindus and make them seem not as connected to the ultimate, that there is an ultimate eternal truth in Hinduism, that those are ways of expressions of that, but not that they are all gods in that way. So that was an important thing. So, thank you for the question. Yes.
Jerry made a very valid point. I'm not going to take too much time over there. I'm going to correct one misconception that Jerry inadvertently mentioned. None of that was taught to Christians. They kind of misassumed that that is what it is.
No. I mean, unfortunately, it was some of those Christians, teachers who made that interpretation in a wrong way. Because in those days, it was the idea of we're better than, we have the truth and you don't. And so for many Christians, it was, we have the answer in Jesus, and it's the only way. And so we diminish that, we diminish Judaism. Now we are understanding that, that wasn't really the teachings of Jesus. And so we're trying to work in a more way of building understanding. But you might experience some of that still in the United States from some of the conservative Christians, the same way we have conservatives in those. But, so let's go ahead and another question. Somebody else had a question, raise your hand.
If somebody has a question, they can ask, but I have something to talk about Hinduism and women's. So basically, first, oh yeah, I can, sure. So, I can take it. It will be a long time.
No, I don't want to, that way I control it.
Thank you.
I've been in meetings where somebody takes the microphone and they go on and on and on. So I have a way of.
Valid point, okay. I'll try to cut down short. I just want to tell that I am very proud and passionate about this topic because I'm also proud Hindu and woman, and also I'm OBGYN women's health specialist. This is my passion, okay. So I couldn't resist to come to this meeting, and we are talking about many things. One thing I want to mention that, we talk about God and this and that. I think Hindu is the maybe only or maybe one of the religion where we worship goddess. We not only worship God, it's a goddess, and we call it power, Shakti, and it's actually more powerful to the God. When the Shakti gets angry, even our Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, who are our God, they bow to her. Nobody can, stand. And we have actually fasting days, 9 days, dedicated to goddess that, many of us keep. We are very special food and all. And a lot of men folk, they are they are devotee of Shakti and power. So that's very important. And lot of misconception we talk. There was a misconception of, I don't know whether you guys are aware or not, but there used to be called Sati Pratha. I don't know you guys know or not, but there women used to sacrifice in the fire at the time of when the husband dies. And people used to, it became orthodox, some women were forced to die, and this actually was a wrong tradition started. It was not original Hindu. It came when the Islamic invaded, and women used to sacrifice themselves to avoid them, because otherwise they will abduct them, they will rape them, do stuff. So that's how some of the princesses started this tradition. But it became the orthodox thing. Nobody does that now. I have a lot more to talk. I think I will stop here.
Thank you so much. I think it's important because the feminine energy that is the divine is in Hinduism is very much celebrated, probably more than in many of our other traditions. Although, as I said, in the Christian tradition, the Holy Spirit was seen as Sophia, wisdom. But it was not because of the patriarchal of our culture, it was diminished, And so I think that's the important thing that we're trying to lift up, that in many of our traditions, women were very valued, but they were not recognized in that way. But thank you. What I hear is that you want us to understand that in the Hindu tradition, the goddess, that feminine energy was powerful and celebrated, right? Thank you. Okay? Now, did you have a question?
I was something that you mentioned about the caste system.
Yes.
Wasn't related to the Hindu. I just wondered how that is impacted women and Hindu women, the caste system.
That's good. That's a great question. How did the caste system, even though we know it wasn't in the Vedas, it wasn't in the core teaching, how did that have an impact with women in the Hindu tradition?
Yeah, so I think you do have some decent background on the caste system, so let me just quickly give a background to those who don't. The word caste comes from the Spanish word casta. So that was brought in as a hierarchical way of segregating society, like building compartments based on just the way they are, or just the way they look, or the profession that they practice. The negative part of it was that it wasn't fluid, so you couldn't transition from one hierarchical rank to another. That was not the case with the Hindu Dharma. I mean, anybody could practice any profession, and then it was very transitional, where it was very fluid, that a certain community that lives in a certain region practices a certain profession can adopt a different profession and turn themselves into different. For example, say someone who's from the intellectual class who likes to practice intellectual pursuits can always become a warrior and go into the warrior clan. And a very basic and minimized way of explaining this whole situation and the whole confusion. But I'm going to say the impact of caste system has been the most on Hindu American mothers. Every single textbook in America from middle school carries no other glorification of Hindu Dharma or Hindu civilization other than pages after pages of caste system, subjecting our children to embarrassment. So much so that the first thing that a Hindu child drops when they graduate from high school and gets into college is their Hindu identity. So that is the impact of caste system for Hindu American mothers.
How they've been educated, or the way that books are written, or
The way the books are written, derogatory, denigrating, and just highlighting caste system as one of the only key features of Hindu Dharma, and there's nothing else. So yeah.
Well, I think this is important that we have to understand so much of for the Quran and the teachings of Islam, the same way the teachings of these faith traditions, the core teachings are very similar, but the culture, how it was played out, or how we in the media in the United States has portrayed them, and how we did in the United States, because we wanted to be the best, we wanted to be, superior, and so we had a way of diminishing people of the faith. Now the good news, as people are becoming more diverse and our cultures are becoming more diverse, like here in Carmel, we are awakening to these realities and we are challenging those systems. And as I think Reese said, that women need to speak out, not just women, but all of us, to say these are misconceptions and are wrong. That this is not, and to learn about our different faith traditions. So thank you. I think it saddens me to know that in the United States, what we've done in that way, but that we need to do better.
I'm going to just add one thing, Jerry.
I know there's a lot of I just would like to do a little bit of an appreciation at this point that Carmel Clay Schools have made an extra effort to team up with us to learn about our culture. They've had many seminars and workshops that they have conducted with us leading those seminars. They're actually their own students, their Hindu American students, have conducted those seminars. So not everything is downhill. There is a silver lining. Carmel Clay Schools, I'm going to thank them particularly that they have taken such measures to course correct, and so that they can sensitively teach these topics. Of course, it's not within their capacity to remove everything in the textbook. That's a very huge battle that anybody has to fight. But at least on their end, they are wanting to learn more and more about our culture, our traditions, so that they can teach such negative aspects more sensitively.
I think that's why the Carmel Interfaith Alliance is so important, and your involvement with the Carmel Interfaith Alliance to stay engaged with us and help us, because Carmel can be an opportunity to be a witness, I think, to other communities of what we're doing. Saturday night, there was a prayer vigil because of the terrible terrorist attack against many of the Hindus over in India. That was at Carmel Christian Church, Mayor Sue Finkham was there for the whole service. The place was filled with over 300 people. It was a beautiful opportunity to say that we stand in solidarity with one another. And I could tell you more stories of what's happened in Carmel in that way. But I think this is wonderful. So let me opportunity for another question, though, for them. Is there someone else who has a question? Yes. Okay.
I have written down my question.
I'm sorry?
I have written down my question.
Okay, good.
So what are some of the key, this question is for Reese, and what are some of the key challenges and opportunities facing women who seek to take on leadership positions or become a rabbi within the Jewish denominations, all the 3 denominations? You could specify each denomination if you want.
For Orthodox.
Hang on.
For Orthodox, there is no option. Women do not participate in leadership. From the time you are 12, you are no longer permitted up on the bima. You cannot read from the Torah. Just recently, and again, this is the impact of the women's movement, education, like learning text, studying Torah has opened up a bit, but not much. Is it? Yeah. Okay, well, good, good. And in conservative and reform, women have full participation. They are rabbis, they are cantors, that's the individual that does the musical liturgy. Women in all 3 branches of Judaism have long been involved in education. The principal of the Hastings Hebrew Academy, the Jewish Day School, has often been a woman. We have many education directors that are women, and so it's more. And I'm glad to hear that it's better. I mean, there are divisions within the Orthodox community. There's modern Orthodox, which is going to be moving more towards conservative perspectives as to what women's rights are. And then there are the Chabad and the Lubavitcher, which are still, my understanding, again, being a lay person, they're still very, very traditional, but there's more activity.
Thank you, though, that question. I think it's important. I think, as Reese said, that women, kind of were taught in the United States for many years, know your place, be quiet, stay at home, just let us go. And women have said, like my wife, who's been a minister, started as well, said, no, we're not going to do this, and that have had strength and have had men who supported them as well. So that's been wonderful. Another question? Yes, back here in the back. Let me come around.
Just a comment to what Risa said. In Orthodoxy in Israel, there are women becoming rabbis, women educators, very well known in Israeli circles. So Orthodoxy is not a monolith there, and it is changing. Not only that, Orthodoxy is, in the Orthodox communities, there are gay women. So with proper standing in the community, things are changing. The world is a different place.
That's good. And I think that's good for us to hear that, none of our faith traditions are one cut out of one canvas. There are many things that we don't. I think that's what's going on, though, in our country and the world. We're seeing this change. We're seeing many of us who are wanting to have that change, and there are some who are afraid of that. And when you get afraid, you pull back. And part of what I think, if we can reassure to people that you aren't going to lose your place, there's still a place for you too, but let us make room for each of us and have respect. But I think that's part of what goes on with the polarization the separation, that people who are seeing this globalization, this sense of inclusivity, this sense of what we want to bring together in joy, scares them because they're afraid they'll lose their identity. And part of what we can help people realize is there's enough room for all of us, and we can all have a place. That's important. Okay, let's just have a couple more questions and then we'll...
I had a question too.
Okay, good.
Ladies first.
Okay. Ladies first. Oh, that's... okay.
Okay, so this question for Reese, and as you talk about like what your grandma taught you and your mother taught you, so now in these days, what is the percentage of youth currently following Judaism? The youth.
Okay, say again, Selfus.
The percentage of youth following this Judaism right now.
What's the percentage of youth who are following in Judaism right now?
Right now. That's my question. Because our ancestor and grandma and everybody taught so many things. But what do you think now in these days? How like they are following, and what do you think about that?
I know from my own experience and with our daughter, young adults tend to fall away from their faith and to try to kind of be like everybody else, especially these days. It's not very safe to acknowledge that you're Jewish on a college campus, for example. And I don't have any statistics, but it's, you know, we had very active, strong youth organizations that ran out of each branch of Judaism, and I think that has kind of tapered off a bit. There's the participation is down. There seems to be one group now. B'nai B'rith is BBYO, is one where the teens get together and they seem to be active in that. One thing that we do try to provide for our kids when they go to college, on campuses there are organizations like Hillel that provide a space for them to go to on Shabbat and on holidays. And there's also Chabad on campuses which does the same kind of thing. So we're trying to provide that, but I think you know, there is a fear. I mean, we are such a minority. I mean, there are 20,000 Jews in Indianapolis, according to the census that they do. I mean, that's really a minority. And the intermarriage rate is very, very high. And, you know, it's whether you're the parent from the Jewish family or the non-Jewish family, your worry is, how are your grandchildren going to be raised? What is your child as a married adult? What are they going to carry forward in their home? And it's not easy. It's not easy.
So I'm going to have one more question, and then here, and we'll have it. But then after that question, I would like to hear from you about what topics that you'd like to learn from other faith traditions. Okay, we'd like to hear from you. What other topic would you like for us to explore? The Carmel Interfaith Alliance and the group here. Okay. But let me have this as our final question here for the panel.
Well, I'm the cameraman, so I'm on camera now. This question is for Reese.
Go ahead.
Over the camera. So, we have living divine people or women. For example, Mata Amritanandamayi, she's called the Hugging Saint. And of course, to be a saint, I mean, she's still living. So, do you have those kind of spiritual women leaders in your community?
That's a great question. So today, are there spiritual women leaders who you look towards or that people look towards today?
Well, I think, you know, in Judaism, our rabbis are our spiritual leaders, and there are many strong women spiritual leaders. I mean, Rabbi Sandy Sasso, for example, who's not only a rabbi, but also an author who has penned many beautiful books for children, dealing with all kinds of topics of understanding God and bringing people together. I personally don't, you know, we have nothing like saints.
I think our cantor has been really involved, and her grandfather had a synagogue
In India, yeah, we have, yeah,
So she was from Canada, so she's
multicultural.
multicultural.
I think too, I was talking with Rabbi Justin before the program started. I think one thing that one woman did that has changed prayer for me dramatically, and that is Debbie Friedman of blessed memory. Debbie Friedman took music and took it from the lofty heights of operatic cantorial voices and democratized it. I'll borrow your term. And she put music from everyday prayers out of our prayer books, put them to music, but in an octave where we can sing along, we can participate, we get that joy of what you feel when you raise your voice in song to God. And so that is someone that I have long admired. And you know, there are in the Reform movement, one of the rabbis in New York City, Rabbi Angela at Central Synagogue, is quite a life force, and is just gives wonderful sermons. And she was a cantor before she went back to school and became a rabbi. So she also has a beautiful voice. But we don't have any kind of saints or things like that, but the imagery that we use in a lot of our prayers, for example, is very feminine. For example, on the Sabbath, one of the prayers we do is we welcome the Sabbath, and the metaphor is it's the Sabbath bride that we are welcoming into our community. And that's just, it's such a beautiful, joyful imagery to carry through that service. So there's things like that, and the way some of the language of prayers is feminine, in that Hebrew is a gender language, so there's masculine and feminine verbs and nouns. And there are lines that describe God as a protective mother bird, and as a supportive rock, as like a mother is the core of the family. So we have those kinds of images, but you know, for us, God is imageless. I mean, the transition going from worshiping idols to a theology that says no images, no pictures, no statues, we're not sure, there's no face to put on God. I mean, that was dramatic. That was quite dramatic. So we have a lot of metaphors and things in our prayers.
Well, thank you so much. I want to be true to our time. It's about 10 till 7, and so I just want to give us an opportunity that you might share with the leaders of the Carmel Interfaith Alliance for you to share some of a topic. We will give a thank you to them. We'll conclude in a little bit, but I want to, before we do that, because that would be our closing, opportunity. Would there be a topic that you'd like to have further conversations with like this? And maybe just raise your hand and then you could share if there is. And if not, there is a sheet back here that you could write down. We also would like for you to, if you'd like to be on the mailing list, that you just continue on. You could put your email down here in the back in this way. But first, I think we want to say thank you so much for these two, and thank you for your time. Thank you for your work. JR, would you come and maybe give us